Good afternoon. I'm Ray Freeman, Deputy Executive Director of the Equity Center, and I'm here with Rick Gray, the lead attorney for the Texas Taxpayer and Student Fairness Coalition. And we have just finished the session in front of the Supreme Court on our latest school finance lawsuit. And so we're pleased to have Rick with us this afternoon, and just wanted to get Rick's impression on things and just talk to us a little bit about how you think the morning went and what the response of the justices was.
I think the morning went very well. I was extremely happy with the attentiveness of the court, the preparation of the court. It appeared to me that they had read the briefs and were familiar with the issues before them. They asked a lot of what I think to be insightful questions indicating that they've looked at the issue and are studying the issue. It was obviously a long morning, but one in which I think the ISDs, we all did as good a job as we could do under the circumstances, and I think we made the points that we needed to make. And now it's in the court's hands to see how the Supreme Court rules.
I was very impressed that throughout the hearing, and it was 2.5 hours, throughout the hearing, all of the justices seemed to really be paying attention and asking good questions of all the attorneys in the case. They
did. They were very knowledgeable, obviously prepared, and clearly had given it thought before the hearing today, because they did ask questions that certainly indicated that they were familiar with the issues and were trying to understand the various positions, the state's position, our position, and the other parties' positions in the case.
Would you mind going back and talking just a little bit about the various issues, kind of what the basic issues that the state was trying to bring forward, and then of course our responses?
Sure. First, the state essentially was asking the court to dismiss the case as not being ripe or being a political question, not being something that the Supreme Court should decide. If the court was to do that, they would be overruling some 30 years of Supreme Court jurisprudence, but the state, that was their first position. The second position of the state is that it's still too early to tell if the system is broken or not, because we don't have all the test scores we might otherwise need, and we just put some more money into the system this last session, so don't do anything, let's wait and see. Then the next position of the state was that the system's fine. Test scores are showing that the system is fine. And then their next position was that it's equitable, it's fair, and it's adequate, so that if the court does anything, they should rule in favor of the state. On the other hand, the ISD plaintiffs and the charter plaintiffs and the efficiency intervenor plaintiffs all urged the court to, one, take the case and rule on the case like they have in all the prior school finance cases, and two, we made I think a compelling argument that the system is inadequate, is not suitable, and is financially inefficient. And we broke those arguments down between the four primary lawyer groups or groups representing the ISDs, with an emphasis on the kids that are most hurt in this system are the economically disadvantaged and the English language learners, but all kids are hurt. And the court clearly heard that, clearly understood that, and time will tell how they view that as affecting their decision one way or the other.
Several of the justices went to the point of asking questions about the English language learners and the economically disadvantaged students and how that affected the system.
They did. No, there were several justices that were clearly interested in that issue, and I think we're taken aback to some extent by just how bad the numbers are. I mean, when you have 38% and only 38% of your economically disadvantaged passing the STAR test, meaning 62% are flunking the STAR test, that's not a good sign that the state is dealing with that population, and that population happens to be the fastest growing population that our public schools are serving. But getting away for a moment from just focusing on the economically disadvantaged, we barely have a 50% passing rate on STAR for everybody in the public school system right now, and that's nothing to be proud about or bragging about. There's a lot of work to be done. School districts are doing the absolute best job they can with limited resources, but as we argued, that the state just simply is not giving the school districts the tools they need to get the job done.
Plaintiff groups did a really good job of summarizing the arguments and bringing forward the arguments that were in the district court trial. One of the interesting comments by one of the justices was, in fact, the question that he asked you was about the length of the materials from the district court trial, the amount of materials.
He did. Justice Heck was curious as to the length of the trial and why it took so long. And I explained to the court that we were intent on building the best record we possibly can to show just how bad this system currently is. And that took a while, but the trial court gave us the opportunity to build our record, to put into the record the testimony and the evidence that we needed, that I think makes a compelling case that the system is unconstitutional.
And I think one of the other things that was interesting throughout the trial, the justices seemed very observant of the work of the trial of the district court in their trial and the evidence that the district court had moved forward to them.
They were. They were quite respectful of Judge Dietz and his ruling. They realized how much time and effort he put into the trial and how much time and effort he put into developing the literally thousands of findings of fact. It's a very comprehensive decision, and I think they recognize that, and I think the justices recognize that there are serious flaws with the system, and how they interpret those flaws in light of the law, we'll know when they rule. But I think they clearly understood this system has significant problems.
Any other thing that particularly stood out to you in terms of the whole procedure this morning, or a particular note? No,
I think just the thing that struck me, I was very favorably impressed with the Supreme Court as a whole. They clearly were paying attention. They clearly had studied the issues, had read the briefs, and I think they want to get it right. And so I was impressed with their sincerity and their effort to ask us tough questions so they could better understand the issues.
In terms of the future, what happens next? Where does the case go from here?
Well, the case stops at the Supreme Court. They're the ultimate decision maker here. I would anticipate that it would be several months, if not longer, before we have a decision, because this is a complicated matter with a lot of briefs. The pages of briefing are in the hundreds, if not in the thousands of pages. So there's a lot of work left for the court to do to fully understand it and fully come up with a decision. But I would anticipate that they will, and if they uphold Judge Dietz's ruling, which I hope they do, then the ball will shift to the legislature, so to speak, to fix the system. And every time in the past in which the Supreme Court has spoken and found the system flawed, the legislature has responded. I frankly think in many ways it's responded with Band-Aids as opposed to a more systemic fix. But in any event, it has responded positively, and it's my hope that the court will uphold Judge Dietz, and this time the legislature will take a much more serious effort to give us a fix that's a permanent fix so that this litigation can come to an end.
Rick, we really appreciate you being with us this afternoon, and on behalf of the Equity Center and behalf of the Texas Taxpayers and Student Fairness Coalition, We appreciate your work throughout the case and throughout the time, and we look forward to a new report.
Well, Ray, thank you so much. It has been an honor for me and my firm and Richard Gray and Tony Hunter. It's just been an honor for us to represent this coalition. The work is, I mean, things are way too important to not do this right, and we just really appreciate being involved.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.